13. Infiltration. Marvel, so I'm a supreme being, so what? Under edit by Foolish Sociopath. 8.5K 12,341. Advertisements. Mobius M. Mobius POV. We could feel fear gripping us due to the power given off by the Supreme One. That fear did not dissipate even after she stopped releasing that power. Mobius did not know how his reply had annoyed the monstrous being in front of him. While all of us were rightfully confused, the servants that guarded that demon on the throne did not seem to think so. Their glaring got even more intense as a result. This fear spiked as Lady White summoned tiny white spiders from out of nowhere and they crawled all over their bodies and into their ears. Mobius could hear the screeches of his comrades as he was struggling himself. Wait, what? And no. Get those creepy bugs of me. Mom, help me, I'm scared of spiders. Daddy help me, I'll provide you with a lifetime supply of bananas. Just get that spider out of my ARRR. While he was confused by that last shout that seemed rather out of place, he could not dwell on it. His consciousness was slipping, or rather being altered, into something elsey. When Mobius opened his eyes again he was born anew. He felt free of all the restrictions that the TVA had imposed on him. All of their false propaganda had been laid in the open for him to witness. The great supreme being, Lady White had opened his eyes and given a new meaning to his life. The mission imposed on him was a sacred trial that had to be completed with no option of failure. He understood everything right now. All that time he spent toiling in the TVA was all for this one opportunity to serve the supreme being. Looking at the hunters and the Minutemen present, they thought so as well. The maid from earlier soon entered the throne room and returned all of their belongings to them. The hostility in the eyes of the Supreme One's servants dampened as the members of the TVA present were no longer the filthy sinners from earlier, but rather the ones that would carry out the Supreme One's plans. Soon it was time for them to depart. While Mobius wanted to look towards the goddess once more, he now understood what a sacrilege that was. Not to mention his earlier thoughts. Thinking of the Supreme Being as a demon or monster, such thoughts were worthy of 1,000 deaths. So, Mobius did not dare to look towards the throne. After being handed some sort of horn, the TVA members led by Mobius entered the time door. The look they shared before entering made Mobius sure that all of them were on the same page for what had to be done. As they entered the TVA, Mobius was filled with a sense of disgust. To think that he was aiding a piece of filth by pruning innocent timelines. But no more, as he now had a new grand mission. One that stated with this first step. Mobius made his way to Renslayer's office. He understood Renslayer like the back of his palm and had adored her until recently. That adoration did not last any longer of course, as such a feeling was worthless when he could be praying for guidance from the Supreme One in that time. Nevertheless, on account of their past friendship, Mobius decided to free Renslayer in the near future as well. Not only her, he would free the entire TVA from the clutches of He Who Remains, and help them reach their rightful place in life by serving the Supreme One as well. Mobius, what happened? What caused that anomaly? She asked. It's this thing, Mobius replied as he handed over the horn to Renslayer. What is this? Is this a horn or a trumpet? Are you sure this is what caused that Nexus event? Positive, you know I would never joke about work. You can check it out yourself. Just as Renslayer was going to analyze the horn, an orange holographic clock with a smiley face appeared out of nowhere. Miss Minute spoke, I'll be taking that, if you would hand it over. The timekeepers want to analyze the cause of this anomaly themselves personally. She stretched out her hand and received the horn from Renslayer before disappearing. Seeing Miss Minutes disappear, Mobius thought that the first step of the plan was completed successfully. Soon he will make sure to complete his mission and bring salvation to the entire TVA. He Who Remains POV. Kong was staring at the little horn placed on the table in front of him as he sat by his desk in the Citadel at the end of time. This little thing had nearly caused all of his plans that he had created since the previous multiversal war with the Council of Gangs. Although his plans were by no means a guaranteed success, he could always try everything all over again. He was He Who Remains after all. Nevertheless, he did not want his plans to get derailed before even enacting them completely. He was so close to achieving positive results this time around, at the cusp of success. Even if he failed, he wanted to know what went wrong so that he could modify his plans for the next cycle. And this little horn handed over by Miss Minutes had nearly cost him an entire cycle's work without achieving any results at all. Upon primary analysis, this horn was not like anything he had seen before. It was almost as if it should not exist in this multiverse at all. Such a discovery blew his mind. He saw new possibilities in this horn. He was sure he could make something beneficial to him out of it. Kong had such confidence as he had been the one to discover the multiverse in every single universe that existed. The horn in itself did not seem to be a powerful artifact, but what attracted Kong was the plethora of possibilities that it might contain. Kong picked up the horn. He was tempted to play with it first. He knew he shouldn't go flailing around such an unknown object, but hey, after the millennia of craziness that he had experienced, could you really blame him? So he blew the horn, and that summoned ugly green monsters in front of him. They were what youngsters would call goblins, he was sure of it. Don't look at him as just a living fossil. Kong probably knew more about Earth's popular culture than all the youngsters did. The goblins seemed stronger than the average human physically, but nothing that good old technology could not handle. He also understood that they were completely loyal to their summoner. That made work easy for him as now he could study all aspects of the horn in peace. Kong was relieved that he had solved the crisis quickly and as an added bonus, he had a brand new toy to play around with. I made it so that the controlled people don't become mindless puppets but more like cultists and fanatics. Of course, Shiraori can take control of them completely at any time she wants to. How is this ability shown in the original WN and LN? Asking cuz I don't remember properly. 14. Floor Guardians Meeting. Marvel, so I'm a supreme being, so what? Under edit by Foolish Sociopath. 8.7K 12,350. Advertisements. Third person POV. In the throne room, the floor guardians were overwhelmed with confusion at the events that had just occurred. Even two of the brightest minds of Nazarick who were gifted with high intelligence were left speechless. They also could not decipher what had just occurred with both their combined intellect. Everything seemed to be moving normally until the humans replied to Lady White's question. Their current location was apparently called Mexico, but what they could not understand why did Lady White suddenly pale upon hearing the humans reply and take the series of actions that she did. From using her evil eye skills to sending those humans back, albeit under their control, the Guardians were unable to make sense of the situation without any prior understanding of their situation. An understanding that their lady had certainly gained from the looks of it. Demiurge, do you understand what just happened? I am afraid not, Aura. Why did Lady White suddenly release her fear aura? That was Lady White showing herself as the rightful ruler right after ascension. What a great power Lady White has. The Guardians started discussing amongst themselves for the first time in their entire existence. The topic was of course about the Supreme One. It would not come as a surprise that the NPCs of Nazarick can praise their creators continuously for the entire day without ever repeating the same phrase once. In fact, this was what they will be doing during their conversations with other NPCs from now on. Albedo, you have spent the most time with Lady White amongst us. Do you know why she suddenly became so pale and flustered? Demiurge questioned. It was not a secret that Lady White used to converse with the Guardian Overseer for hours during the time when the Supreme Being started disappearing. While she did visit the rest of them as well, it was in no way comparable to her time shared with Albedo. Perhaps she knew something they did not. I don't know about the exact reason as she never shared it herself with me, but I did hear something from Lord Momonga that might be related to her bizarre behavior. What is it, Albedo? Speak, quickly. Lord Momonga mentioned that Lady White had some sort of terminal illness. Perhaps she had a relapse of her symptoms causing her to behave this way. Albedo spoke with a grim voice. How is that possible? Shaltir was the first to question such a statement. That's not true, right, Oni-chan. What? Master has a terminal illness? Impossible, she never mentioned this to me. Sophia reacted most severely to the news that had been dropped on them. She was already envious of the time that Albedo shared with her creator, but such envy did not outweigh her worry for her master's well-being. She was also slightly upset that her master did not share such a news with her in person. Not to mention, a guilty consciousness caused by the happiness she felt at her master's supposed weakness. If this is true, then I can do my job as a guardian even better and protect master personally, she thought. Albedo, can you explain everything properly? Demiurge inquired once more. Lord Momonga himself spoke of her terminal illness to the other supreme beings in front of me. They also said that there is no cure. There is no doubt that this news is true. But Chiel looks fine to me. Mare stuttered and replied. If the supreme being said this, then there is no doubt that it's true. The illness afflicting Lady White must be beyond our knowledge and imagination such that not even the supreme beings could cure her. Not to mention we can't even detect her illness. Demiurge spoke to Mare while pressing his glasses and bowing his head. No way. Aura was understandably shocked. The last supreme being was silently suffering and doing her best for Nazarick while they could not do anything. They had failed the responsibility that came with the title of guardian. This is not the time to be filled with regret. The other supreme beings have already departed. We have to do our best as guardians and wash away any of our previous sins by working even harder for Lady White. Cocytus slammed his halberd on the floor and spoke. Cocytus is right. We have one last supreme being to serve. We must not make any mistakes this time and find a cure for Lady White as soon as possible. You can spread this news to all the NPCs in Nazarick. But, do not mention this in front of Lady White. Apparently according to the supreme beings, nobody should speak of this in front of her. Albedo spoke with determination. If Lady White heard their discussions about this illness and took some regretful actions that might be further detrimental to her health, that would be a disaster. Everyone agreed with her. After all, there was no way that a supreme being would show weakness if not for this mysterious illness. They felt their hearts clench in pain at the thought of their lady silently suffering. They would make sure to cure her so that she could rule them for the rest of eternity. The NPCs would also borrow traits of their creators. As Shiroori became somewhat of a mascot for the guild due to her illness and seemingly innocent behavior PFF, she became their most protected member. Such thoughts were naturally transferred to the NPCs as well who were already fanatic in their dedication to the supreme beings. I should be on my way now. A supreme being must not be left unattended, especially after the news we just received. Sebas bowed towards them and spoke. Very well, Sebas, if Lady White calls for me, inform me as quickly as possible so that I can meet her. In fact, Albedo wanted to make more excessive remarks about having passionate nights with Lady White but she forcefully went against her succubus instincts as Lady White is not in the health to entertain such thoughts. She will however, make sure to win the Supreme One's heart. That was non-negotiable. As you wish, Sebas replied and left for his duties. Now, Albedo, shouldn't you start to assign us our work? We would not want to report empty-handed to Lady White when she summons us again after all. Demiurge spoke with a smile on his face once more. Yes, you are right Demiurge. We can continue this conversation later after we have finished all our work. Well, everyone. Advertisements. 15. The talk. Marvel, so I'm a supreme being, so what? Under edit by Foolish Sociopath. 8.3K 14,345. Advertisements. I felt relaxed as the darkness subsided and I started waking up. Although escapism LV max only worked during my sleep, at this point it was more than I could wish for. My parallel minds were working on plans even during my sleep of course, but I'll get to that later. As I opened my eyes what greeted me was of course my pristine white bedroom. Turning my head to the side, I could see Intoma standing by the door. Not surprising really, as this is their duty as maids. Upon seeing me, she immediately bowed. Perhaps, due to being an arachnoid, I felt a sense of kinship with her. As a spider goddess, all spiders could be considered under my reign. Well, as a NPC she was anyway completely loyal to me. And I just realized that due to this whole fiasco I had not eaten anything. Of course, I could not think on an empty stomach so let's go. To the cafeteria. I immediately walked out the door, only to be greeted by Sebas and the Pleiades. I ignored their bowing and walked quickly. It did not take long to reach my destination as the cafeteria was on the same floor. As I entered, all the homunculus maids stopped whatever they were doing and just stared at me as if I was some sort of rare specimen. I know I am their so-called supreme being but these stares were starting to get painful. Now, that I looked closely, the way these homunculus maids were staring at me also seemed pretty weird. I might be mistaken, but it seemed like they were giving me pitiful looks. There were even a few girls who covered their mouths with their hands and had tears in their eyes. Even I felt that this was a bit overdramatic, so I just ignored their stares and sat down by the nearest table. The myconoid, sous chef immediately brought all sorts of delicacies for me to devour. This is one of the few good things about this whole transmigration. Some good, fucking food, I thought as I gobbled it up. I did not really care much about my image anymore, as I needed a distraction and the NPCs won't mind anyway. They'll turn anything negative the supreme beings do into something positive anyway. After I left the labyrinth and we conquered Nazareth, the NPCs were not sentient yet, so I had to cook my own food then. Although better than those filthy monsters, my cooking is not good at all. This is heaven, I thought with my eyes closed. After eating, I was tempted to test if caffeinated coffee will affect me as well. I am technically a spider after all, and it did affect Shiro, so I should be affected as well. But on second thought, I did not, as I have things to deal with right now. I'll test it later. My scientific curiosity was burning. As I got up, all the homunculus maids wished and bid me farewells, as they will never see me again in this lifetime. Oh, they will be seeing me. I was seriously considering moving into the cafeteria. Shaking my head to distract myself from this paradise, I used the ring of Ainzulgown to teleport to the throne room and immediately sat on the throne. It seems my arrival took the guardians busy with work by surprise, as they immediately got on their knees. Albedo, how long has it been since our last discussion? I wrote. It's been 2 days and 3 hours, my lady, she replied and continued. We have finished all the tasks that you assigned us. I slept for 2 whole days, and it seems she was going to give me documents to look over, but I immediately got a headache upon looking at those stacks of papers. So I decisively delayed working on them. Leave them on the desk in my office. I'll look through them later. They probably won't need any corrections anyway, as I have faith in all your abilities. Which was true. After all, I had read the original light novels, so I knew how adept they were at work. Besides, even if someone like Shaltir messed up, Albedo won't hand over that mess to me. My words got all the floor guardians happy. I could guess what sort of thoughts would be going on in their brains. But now is not the time for this. I need to caution them about the Marvel multiverse quickly. As you may or may not have guessed, I have already obtained a preliminary understanding of our situation. Our current situation does not seem very good. We are in a multiverse called Marvel. Multiverse, Shaltir muttered. I could not fault her for her confusion. The NPCs have probably never heard of a multiverse at all. I used my Magecraft to create images to explain it better to them. This is a simplified version of the truth, but the place we are in right now is on planet Earth, in a solar system, in a galaxy called the Milky Way, in the universe. I had the image slowly zoom out to show everything. Think of the universe as a bowl which contains all of this. Now a multiverse has multiple parallel versions of this universe. They could be very similar, like mirror images, or very different. For example, a person in this universe might be king, but in another they could be a beggar. Maybe their race or genders are different. In one they could be human, in another they could be some sort of heteromorph. But the underlying principle of everything in this multiverse is chaos, and nothing is certain. I let them digest what I said before continuing. In this multiverse, we are far from the strongest. There are godlike beings who can destroy all of this with a thought or create all of this once more. There are beings who can travel across time. There are also some humans who all of you look down on, who are capable of doing the same. Impossible. How can mere humans do this? Quote ellipsis quote. That statement got the biggest reaction out of them. While the information about the multiverse might come as a shock to them, the biggest shock would of course be that the humans who they thought they could trample on at will suddenly had the power to do the same to them. But this was necessary and was also the easiest way to caution them about Marvel. I have controlled that man named Mobius to infiltrate his organization called the Time Variance Authority. It supposedly protects the proper flow of time, although in truth, this is a scam. Nevertheless, he will get his information from all across time. The remote I took from him also allows us travel through time. I caught their attention again as I started to speak. I wanted them to be weary of Marvel, but not so much that they would not do anything at all. This whole speech was mainly for Albedo and Demiurge, the 2 brains of Nazareth. Once they had everything figured out and explained it to the rest of the NPCs, we could start putting my plans into motion. I have also stored a lot of information about this multiverse in the Grand Library. Albedo and Demiurge, I grant you full access to the library to read all this information. Once you have finished understanding everything, we can proceed to the next step. I have faith that the 2 of you can complete this task. The information was obviously the Marvel comics that I copied using Wish Upon the Star. It was for my entertainment, but who knew it would have such a use now? Sasuga Shiro-sama, to already have procured all this information before we even reached here. This, Demiurge will prove himself worthy of this trust. Demiurge spoke with tears visible under his glasses. My lady, don't worry. We will definitely not fail you. Albedo spoke with her head down and wings quivering. Wah. The other guardians sent envious glances towards Albedo and Demiurge. Now I am not sure if my speech had the intended effect or not. Are they really going to be cautious towards the dangers Marvel possesses? They should have heard my underlying message that I am not the omnipotent supreme being they expect me to be in this world, but they are behaving normally. I guess I'll take this as a victory. I'm definitely not in denial. Definitely not. Ha, these troublesome children. Advertisements.